Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so your friends see it. Thank you.
College teaches students Problem of Whiteness course, GOP lawmakers fight back. The University of Wisconsin-Madison is teaching a class called The Problem of Whiteness. Surprisingly, the professor, Damon Sajnani, is white. The course teaches students how white people are racist and whiteness is horrible. Critical Whiteness Studies aims to understand how whiteness is socially constructed and experienced in order to help dismantle white supremacy. Our class will break away from the standard US-centric frame, and consider how whiteness is constructed globally, with particular attention to paradigmatic cases like South Africa, says the course description. Whereas disciplines such as Latino, African, and Asian American studies focus on race as experienced by non-whites, Whiteness Studies considers how race is experienced by white people. It explores how they consciously and unconsciously perpetuate institutional racism and how this not only devastates communities of color but also perpetuates the oppression of most white folks along the lines of class and gender, says the description. In this class, we will ask what an ethical white identity entails, what it means to be #woke, and consider the journal Race Trader's motto, "Treason to whiteness is loyalty to humanity," it says. Several GOP lawmakers are speaking out against the class. I am extremely concerned that UW-Madison finds it appropriate to teach a course called, The Problem of Whiteness, with the premise that white people are racist, said Wisconsin State Representative Dave Murphy. Murphy also claimed that the teacher condones violence against law enforcement and compares white voters to the KKK. CNN accuses Trump of politicizing the Mueller investigation. Many people can see that the Mueller investigation is nothing but a crybaby liberal attempt to delegitimize the election of Donald Trump. The investigation was a political, partisan attack against the president from the beginning. But according to CNN senior legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin, President Trump made the case political when he pointed out that the FBI is politically biased. I actually think the president has been more effective than we're giving him credit for here. If you look at the polls, for better or worse, Republicans now have a much more negative view of Robert Mueller than they did when he was appointed, said Toobin. You know, the president has succeeded in politicizing this investigation, and that means that Mueller is seen, at least by more people than previously, as someone who is sort of part of the political maelstrom in which we live instead of an independent actor, said Toobin. This will serve as an opportunity to attack him if he takes even more direct action against the president. I'm not saying the president was right to do that. But I think we need to acknowledge that there has been a change of perception, at least by the Republican base, said Toobin. The fact that there are people in the Justice Department who have previously expressed political views is nothing new. It's not disqualifying. But it's being used here by the president and his allies to create the impression that there is something wrong with this investigation, and that's false, but a lot of people believe it, said Toobin. Al Sharpton calls Trump a symbol of northern bigotry, then he got hit with truth about himself. Loudmouth opportunist Al Sharpton recently made a guest appearance on MSNBC show Morning Joe, and quickly started in on his favorite ratings-grabbing, cheap-shot activity of trying to bash Republican President Donald Trump. Claimed knee-jerk craze-baiter Sharpton baselessly about the president, he never left the Queen's way, he and his father were sued for racial discrimination for who they would rent apartments to. So when you read in the New York Times, him being quoted by two sources saying all Haitians have AIDS, Nigerians won't go home to their huts if we let them in the country, it speaks of a man that we in New York knew at various times. He went on, now, he and the White House has denied it, but it's certainly not out of the character of what he has said and done. He led the fight that wanted to give the Death penalty for 5 guys in Central Park that did this egregious despicable act of rape. They ended up not doing it. Many of us said it was questionable. He still said give them the death penalty. That's who he is. He concluded by calling Trump a symbol of northern bigotry, stating, "I think a lot of Americans look at civil rights and race relations in the South in the 60s and miss New York in the 80s where you had many incidents. They get away with it because don't want to talk about up north kind of problems and Trump symbolizes it. Trump is as much a symbol of northern bigotry as you have others that were southern." Thankfully, people saw right through Sharpton's insulting words and hit back with the truth about the civil rights leader. Said one internet commenter, "Well, maybe Al, but you are definitely a symbol of black bigotry, and not just for the North, but for the whole country." Another added, "Al Sharpton doesn't believe half of what he says. He just likes to talk and talk and talk and talk. Saying outrageous things gets him noticed." Anybody else think he's beginning to look like a shriveled up old prune? Do you think Al Sharpton is an idiot? I wish I could tour without getting shot. Kathy Griffin blames Trump for putting her life in danger. Shlaki Shako Meja Kathy Griffin got in trouble with the Secret Service earlier this year when she staged a photo shoot of herself holding a severed, bloody dummy head of Republican President Donald Trump and then published the photos on social media. Griffin's career suffered as a result of this disgusting provocation. She lost her annual high-profile job co-hosting CNN's New Year's Eve celebration, and she has had the majority of her well-paid stand-up comedy gigs cancelled. Instead of taking stock of her grave error in judgment, Griffin is now blaming Trump for the fact that her career has been destroyed. Complained Griffin about the flack that followed her severed head photos going viral, but the president's Twitter feed is the greatest programming director ever. The minute he tweeted that tweet about me, it was literally breaking news on every channel. She whined, "It was very soon after the commie firing. He, Trump, absolutely used me as a tool to distract from his bad news of the day. After that, I had to go offline because of the death threats. He didn't use my handle in his tweet, so he didn't have my followers coming after him." Kathy then claimed that her obvious publicity stunt would not have been a news story if not for Donald Trump. She said, "I think it would have been gone in a week without his tweet. Trump knows what would be perceived as something hysterical and he loves hysteria. There are millions of people who think I'm a member of ISIS to this day." The woman who joked about Trump getting murdered actually went so far as to blame the president for her life potentially being in danger. The comedian griped, "They were thrilled to have someone come over and make fun of Trump. I wish I could tour in the US without getting shot. I know I can't. I was in the middle of a 50-city tour when the tweet happened. It was cancelled in 24 hours. Do you think Griffin might actually be nuts?" Whitlock calls ungrateful basketball father LaVar Ball a black stereotype in brutal speech. President Trump saved 3 basketball players from being sent to prison in China. However, the father LaVar Ball refused to be even remotely grateful. Since then CNN has had him on, and he is getting famous for hating the president. Recently his son, Los Angeles Lakers rookie Lonzo Ball gave LaVar $400,000 which he immediately spent on a $400,000 Rolls-Royce. Fox Sports 1's Speak for Yourself co-host Jason Whitlock went after Ball and explained why he is a stereotype. LaVar Ball was supposed to be this disruptor. He's taking on the NCAA, he's taking on the NBA, he's taking on Nike and Under Armour and Adidas. He's going to reconfigure the way everything's done, explained Whitlock. LaVar Ball is the perfect black father, he's involved with his kids, blah, 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 blah blah. LaVar Ball is a stereotype, bottom line. That's all that is. That's a stereotype. Get some money, blow it on a Rolls Royce, a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, a $5.2 million mansion in Chino Hills, he's a stereotype, said Whitlock. Doug Gottlieb agreed as well. I think they're more likely to go broke than anything else, Gottlieb stated. I think instead of being a great rags to riches tale, it's rags to riches, back to rags tale, that is the most likely conclusion, said Gottlieb. Obama straight up calls President Trump a Nazi and CNN celebrates. While other former presidents have resigned and stayed out of politics after their terms were over, Obama is going out of his way to insult President Trump. In a speech about Donald Trump, Obama began referencing how society fell apart in 1930s Germany. You have to tend to this garden of democracy, otherwise, things can fall apart fairly quickly. And we've seen societies where that happens, said Obama. And then 60 million people died. An entire world was plunged into chaos. So you've got to pay attention and vote, said Obama. In an interview with CNN's Jake Tapper, former White House chief strategist David Axelrod defended Obama's comments. David, let me start with you. In the past few weeks President Obama, I think it is fair to say, has been increasingly vocal in his criticisms of President Trump, not just about policy, but also about the tone and tenor. Recently he invoked Nazi Germany in reference to the current political climate. Does President Obama see a danger in the Trump presidency? Asked Tapper. How you see now is a president who delivers hammer blows again and again to fundamental institutions of our democracy and adds to cynicism about our democratic institutions. And I think that's what President Obama was speaking to. And President Bush has spoken to it as well. Policies change, views are different, that's part of the system. But our institutions have to be sustained. And that is something that this president doesn't always appreciate, responded Axelrod.